this video, we're going to go through the process of changing out a drive belt. I know that there's a couple of videos out there that cover this, but they leave out a couple of the specifications. They don't go through 100% of the process. They probably go through 90% of it. I'm going to go through 100% of it. We'll start with taking off the clutch cover. They're T30s all the way around. Just take all those out. All the bolts in the cover are the same length, so you don't have to worry about where they came out of. And here's our primary, here's our secondary. To change this belt out, we've got to remove this bolt, pull the outer sheave off of the secondary. And to do that, we're going to pull this 5/8 bolt out. I'm just going to use an impact. It's a regular right-hand thread. Comes out like that. Pull the sheave off. There are some shims in between the two sheaves. You want to make sure you don't lose those. They didn't come out, they stayed in there. So now we can pop the belt off. And mine's actually been, well, you can see right there. So mine's been through 2 dune trips, and I don't know that I necessarily have slip issues, but after 15 minutes of running, it'll get hot and I can smell it. And I'll run with the cover off if I can, but can't always do it, because like last trip we were on, it's pretty wet. And I'll smell it. I'll smell my belt for the hour, the hour that we're beating on it. And I only ever smell it when I got it pinned, and I'll pin this thing for 20 minutes straight. But if we're just running regular, I don't have any issues with it. Don't smell it. But anyway, so I knew this belt had been hot because I can smell it. And if you'll look right here, if you'll watch this, when I do this, that belt just snaps. It's crispy. Look at that. So this belt was ready to go. This was a Gates carbon belt. I've been pretty happy with these. I mean, I've probably got about 300 or so miles on this belt. Maybe not that much, but 250 miles of dunes, and not easy dunes. I mean, I beat the dog shit out of my machine, and even though I knew the belt was getting hot, it never blew on me. It never failed. I mean, it's not like it's a an XDS turbo or something like that. They only go 137 miles before they blow the belt. Anyway, so I'll put another carbon belt on. Okay, time for the belt. If you are doing an OE belt from Arctic Cat, silk screened on the outside of it is going to be a direction arrow. Everything turns this way, counterclockwise. So you want to have the arrow follow the direction of rotation. The Gates belts that I've been using and I've been fairly happy with don't have direction arrows, so I don't have to worry about that, I guess. So we're going to pay attention, make sure that our shims have not moved and they're in there and they're stacked the way they're supposed to be and all that kind of stuff. Pay attention to the X's. There's an X right here that corresponds to the X on the back, and it corresponds with the X on the outer sheave. So these sheaves are balanced. If you were to put it on this way, so this X shows you that there's an X on this side, this half of the sheave, and then you put this X down here, it's going to run out of balance and be wobbly and shaky, and wobble's bad. We don't want the wobbles. So we'll match the X's up so that they're all on the same half of the sheave. X, and then there's the X back here, and then there's an X right here. Some guys will use a Sharpie, a marker, to do this. Somebody at some point did that to this one. Hell, maybe I did that at some point. But you could mark the sheave here, then mark the sheave here, so that you would know. But I just use the X's. So we'll put this on here, and get the outer sheave to drop onto the splines. In theory, like that. I use blue Loctite on this bolt. Not a lot, just a little. I also use the impact to help me get this belt up in the sheave where it needs to be. So if you'll run this bolt on until it tightens up, and if you'll spin the sheave, it'll reseat the belt, and then you can see it loosen the washer up. Then you can hit it again, spin the sheave, seats the belt. Do that a few times and it'll move that belt up into the sheave where it needs to be. Almost there. We are there. Alright, so the belt's all seated. Bolt's in. This bolt torques down to 35 foot-pounds. In the manual it talks about putting like a strap wrench on this sheave to hold it. I've never had to do it that way. I've always been able to just hold it and get it tight. But it is a pain in the ass. All right, 35 foot-pounds, 5/8 socket. There we go. I always like to give it one spin to make sure the belt is fully seated, and then hit it again. So we're now at 35 foot-pounds. Everything's back together. All we have to do now is throw the clutch cover back on. These bolts on the clutch cover torque down to 50 inch-pounds. If you are that anal, you're going to torque down these bolts on this clutch cover to 50 inch-pounds. Arctic Cat needs to hire your ass for quality control. I'm just going to run them in until they're tight. That's it. Now you're ready to go out and ride.